Morning Phase is the 12th studio album by American musician Beck. The album was released in February 2014 through his new label, Capitol Records. According to a press release, Morning Phase is a companion piece to his 2002 album Sea Change, and harkens back to the stunning harmonies, songcraft and staggering emotional impact of that record, while surging forward with infectious optimism. Several of the musicians who recorded parts for Sea Change returned to record for Morning Phase. Background: Beck's previous album, Modern Guilt, was released in 2008, and was the final album released under his Interscope Records contract. In the interim between album releases, Beck worked on a wide variety of projects, including new studio material, most of which went unreleased for several years. In October 2012, bassist and frequent collaborator Justin Meldal Johnson commented, "I would estimate that there are currently about 3 or 4 albums a Euro unregistered trademark worth of material floating around," and Beck himself said that "I wasn't sure if I was going to put out a record a Euro, or if I should put out a record. It felt like I was standing still, while everything else was in such flux." In 2012 and 2013, Beck began to perform live with more regularity than in the years immediately following the Modern Guilt tour. This period also saw new original material. The I Just Started Hating Some People Today Blue Randy single was released in 2012, and he self-released the Defriended, I Won't Be Long, and Gimme singles in 2013. All 3 of these songs were standalone releases as 12-inch singles on his own phonograph label. I Won't Be Long and Gimme were allegedly from an unfinished project from 2009, described as being similar to Odelay. According to Beck, the remaining songs from this project may see a similar release method. In June 2013, Beck announced the expected release of 2 new albums for 2014, with one of the 2 being an acoustic album. The press release for the acoustic album arrived in October 2013, announcing the title as Morning Phase and giving a February 2014 release window. The other still unfinished album would be planned for a later release. In comparing the production of Morning Phase with his previous album, Beck stated that prior to recording Modern Guilt in 2008, he had suffered a serious spinal injury, and that the recording process for Modern Guilt was like doing it with both hands tied behind your back. It hurt to sing. I'm whispering through half of those vocals. On the other hand, Beck said that Morning Phase was a much more satisfying experience. Some of the songs on the new record I get to shout and yell. I'm like, thank you. I had a lot of ideas and things I'd been wanting to do. This last year and a half, I feel like I can really do them. Recording: in 2005, Beck began recording material in Nashville for a new album, but it remained incomplete for several years. It was not until 2012 that he returned to continue the project, this time recording at Third Man Records. 2 songs from these new sessions, I Just Started Hating Some People Today, and Blue Randy were released that year as a non-album single on Third Man's Blue series. Other songs, like Blackbird Chain, Country Down, and Waking Light were reserved for what would become Morning Phase. In the beginning of 2013, he recorded a great deal of the album in his hometown of Los Angeles in 3 days, with familiar studio and touring musicians Justin Meldal Johnson, Joey Aronka, Roger Joseph Manning Jr., and Smokey Hormel. The next 6 months, Beck worked with this material for an album release. His father David Campbell contributed orchestral arrangements for the album, as he had done previously for Sea Change, and most of Beck's other albums. Singles: on January 20, 2014, the album's first single Blue Moon was released. Beck released the second single from the album, Waking Light, on February 4, 2014. Reception: critical reception. Prior to its release, Morning Phase was placed at number 2 on Stereogram's list of most anticipated albums of 2014. Upon its release, the album received critical acclaim from music critics. At Metacritic, which assigns a normalized rating out of 100 to reviews from mainstream critics, the album received an average score of 81, indicating universal acclaim. At Mojo, James McNair stated that Morning Phase isn't an album that obsequiously courts your approval. It just does. Andy Gill of The Independent wrote that the album is a deeply satisfying journey, the sadness tempered by the warmth and beauty of the settings, and the gentle determination of the resolution. Accordingly, ET-Euro-unregistered trademark S a much better album than Sea Change, just as immersive, but wiser and less indulgently wallowing. According to Reef Yanis of Clash magazine, Morning Phase has a slight, melancholic tone, and there's an awful lot to love. Crave Online's Ian Robinson rated the album 9/10, calling it a proud successor to Sea Change, and down-tempo stroke of genius, and noting that it's some of Beck's best work in years. Commercial performance: Morning Phase debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200 albums chart, selling more than 87,000 in its first week, and becoming Beck's second highest charting album in the United States, after Grow. The album also reached top 10 positions in the UK, Canada, Denmark, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Australia and New Zealand. As of July 2014, Morning Phase has sold 242,000 copies in the US. Track listing: all songs written and composed by Beck Hansen. Personnel: Beck Hansen, vocals, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, keyboards, piano, synthesizer, organ, electric bass, sound collage, tambourine, ukulele, charango, celeste, dulcimer, harmonica, glockenspiel, orchestral arrangements, Joey Aronka, drums, percussion, Roger Joseph Manning, Jr. piano, synthesizers, Rhodes, clavinet, B3 organ, background vocals, Stanley Clark, upright bass, electric bass, James Gadsden, drums, Cody Kilby, guitar, Brahmin score, electric bass, Fats Kaplan, banjo, Justin Meldal-Johnson, bass, Smokey Hormel, acoustic guitar, electric guitar. Rebo, Stephanie Bennett, harp, Steve Richards, cello, Roger Aronka, piano, Jason Faulkner, electric guitar, Matt Mahaffey, organ, Greg Ellis, pedal steel guitar, Matt Sherrod, drums, David Campbell, orchestral arrangements, orchestrations and conducting. Charts, release history, references.